Hello, everyone. My name's Ryan Rosetta, and I did my report on Albert Bandura and Leon Festinger. Albert Bandura's early life was he was born in Mundare, Canada on December 4th, 1925. Mundare, Canada was a very small town known for having Polish and Ukrainian immigrants. The population was about 400. His father was a Polish immigrant that worked laying tracks for the Trans Canada Railroad, along with being involved in the Mundare School Board. While his mother was a Ukrainian immigrant that worked at the general goods store. He was the youngest with five older sisters, and one of which passed away before he was born, approximately 4 or 5 years due to a flu pandemic. His early education was at Mundare Public School. It was the elementary, middle, and high school for Mundare. It was the only school there. They didn't have any teachers and resources, so the teachers typically had to teach themselves. During this time, he worked at a furniture manufacturing plant and helped upkeeping the Alaskan Highway in Whitehorse, Canada. He typically did these things during the summer. Supported by his parents because they did support higher education, he attended University of British Columbia as a biological sciences major while working at a woodworking plant. Discovery of psychology was due to him having to get to school early every morning. He decided to take an extra class, which happened to be psychology. He fell in love with it, and he graduated from the University of British Columbia with a bachelor's in psychology, and he received the Bolokin Psychology Award. He was known for, well, he had a quote in one of his later articles saying the psychology of chance encounters and life paths. Basically, this was him talking about if you put yourself out there, you expose yourself to more opportunities, leaving you to have a better chance at finding a better path in life. His education continued as he attended a graduate study program at University of Iowa. The head of the psychology department at this time was Kenneth Spence, a former student of Clark Hall, who also still had close ties to Yale and would often share research with Hall still. Kurt Lewin was conducting research at University of Iowa at this time, but he didn't really interact with Bandura. And then hot topic during this time was fundamental problems in learning. Clark Hall was conducting research in a Freudian lens around learning. Bandura would be Arthur Benton's student at the time, under whom he received a master's degree program, or master's and a PhD from University of Iowa. Career in life, he became married to Virginia Varnes shortly after getting his PhD in 1952. They had two daughters, Mary, born in 1954, and Carol, born in 1958. He joined the faculty of Stanford University in 1953, heavily influenced by the chair of the psychology department, Robert Sears. He began research on social learning and aggression with an aid of his first doctoral student, Richard Walters. Continued researching and teaching at Stanford University until 2010, so 57 years at the university before he retired. He passed away peacefully in his sleep in 2021, so fairly recent. Bandura is a very well-known and well-respected psychologist. He's mostly known for his Bobodal experiment, social modeling theory, social cognitive theory, self-efficacy theory. He was the president of the American Psychology Association, honorary president of the Canada Psychological Association, a founding member of the Association of Advancement of Psychology, 1974, and president of the Western Psychological Association in 1981. He received 20 honorary degrees, and he also received additional awards, one of which you can see here in the corner. He's receiving a scientific award from Obama for his contribution to the field of psychology. You can see in the bottom corner is him with Tim and Andy, his two grandchildren. So the Bobodal experiment consisted of children would witness an adult model enact aggression on a Bobodal. The first variation was live, they would be in the room when it happened. Second variation would be them watching a film. And third variation would be live again, but then they'd see the adult model either be rewarded or punished for this behavior. The child was then placed into a room filled with toys before the toys were all taken away. This was supposed to promote an aggression response. The child was then left in the room with a Bobo doll and observed. Same-sex models were more likely to influence aggressive behaviors in the children, so male children watching a male adult do it would be more likely to exhibit the behaviors. Same with female children watching a female model. Boys showed aggressive behavior more often, and punishment had a stronger effect on females particularly. Reinforcements, praise, did not increase likelihood of the behavior, while punishment and scolding did decrease the likelihood of the behavior. Social cognitive theory, the idea that behaviors are influenced by an individual's own beliefs as well as observations of their environment and how it responds to their behavior. So you can kind of see the idea of in the top right corner, things kind of influence each other, and it's a never-ending circle of response and feedback. But the example I gave is a child believes funny people are popular. It's his personal factor, personal belief. He decides to disrupt the class by doing or saying something funny, which is the behavior. Then the class responds positively, supporting the belief and reinforcing the behavior, which is the environmental social. So he's more likely to continue to believe this and continue to keep doing the behavior. Another theory is the social learning theory. Social modeling is a different name for it. The concept that individuals will observe behaviors of influential figures in their environment, internalize the observed behavior to attempt to understand it, imitate the behavior, then respond to the environmental feedback of reward or punishment. So it's kind of like when a child sees an adult do something, they'll try and do it. And if they like the response of it, either them getting attention or the parents laughing, then they'll be more likely to do that behavior again in the future. Bandura was a huge influence in shifting away from behaviorism and Skinner's operant conditioning. Not that operant conditioning is wrong, it just said it showed that there's more factors at play in the background. It went against Freud and Hall's theories and beliefs, the aggression models, so on and so forth. Helped provide a better understanding of behavioral influences for fields of psychology such as clinical, educational, and organizational, though there's other fields as well that it did help support. Now on to Leon Festinger. His early life, he was born in Brooklyn, New York on May 8, 1919. His father and mother were both Russian Jewish immigrants. He attended an all-boys school in Brooklyn during the Great Depression. He received a bachelor's in psychology from the City College of New York, a place where actually Kenneth Clark taught, but not during the time he was there. Studied child behavior under Kurt Lewin, receiving a master's and a PhD from the University of Iowa, same place that Bandura went. Spent additional time there as an associate. He left the University of Iowa to work as a statistician for the Committee on Selection and Training of Aircraft Pilots at University of Rochester during World War II. He got married during this time to Mary Oliver Ballou. They had 3 children, Catherine, Richard, and Kurt. I feel like Kurt's from Kurt Lewin because he was so inspired by him. Festinger left the University of Rochester to work as an assistant professor at the Research Center for Group Dynamics at MIT. This was founded by Kurt Lewin. When Kurt Lewin passed away, Festinger took the place as supervisor. I say for a short period of time, but it was longer. Festinger continued the research at University of Michigan, so he brought the whole program over to the University of Michigan, where it continued there, just in a different setting. And then eventually, Festinger, along with his research assistant Stanley Schachter, moved on to the University of Minnesota, leaving behind the research program. And they continued their research and published another book. They had published multiple books. Well, Festinger had published multiple books by this point. He then moved to Stanford University, where he published his social comparison theory and cognitive dissonance theory. These are his 2 most well-known theories. This is also where Bandura was working at the time. His life and career. He received a Distinguished Scientific Contribution Award from the APA. He divorced Mary and ended up marrying Trudy Bradley in 1968. He would leave and return to the field of psychology 2 or 3 times over a 19-year period towards the end of his life. And after retiring from psychology in 1983, that's when he closed his lab and basically retired from psychology. He became interested in prehistoric archaeology and studied alongside paleontologist historian Stephen Jay Gould. He wrote his last book entitled The Human Legacy, and he discussed complex societies and the use of primitive tool making in this book. He then passed away due to cancer in 1989. His legacy and most well-known things are proximity effect, informal social communication, social comparison theory, and cognitive dissonance. He was believed to play an important role in the integrating of laboratory experimentation into the field of social psychology because it was rather difficult at the time and people... Yeah, I'm just going to go on. Social comparison theory. This theory believed that people had an innate desire to evaluate themselves, which is typically done through comparing themselves to others. This is kind of common day, everyday knowledge to everyone at this time, but back then it just wasn't. So this kind of set the groundwork of that. There was upward social comparison. So basically you'd compare yourself to someone that you saw as greater or in a better light, and it would motivate you to push forward and be better and become better in whatever aspect: intelligence, physical appearance, being stronger, wealthier, so on and so forth. Then there's downward social comparison. This didn't motivate people as much, but often it would make them feel better about themselves, comparing them to someone they saw as inferior or lesser. Cognitive dissonance, the concept that a person feels discomfort when their knowledge, beliefs, or values conflict with each other, leading the individual to take actions to reduce the dissonance. This can lead to the individual forcing a justification for their beliefs, avoiding situations or information that could increase the dissonance. So an idea of this is a smoker finds out smoking is bad for them. They still want to smoke, but the idea that it causes cancer makes it hard for them to keep doing it. They might justify this by thinking, oh, my uncle smoked for 60 years and he's still alive. I'll be fine. That kind of ridiculous justification. They studied a cult that believed the world would flood and aliens would come save everyone. They had a cognitive dissonance dollar experiment, seeing how people would be able to have their views manipulated depending on if they were given $1 or $20. The connection to class and just psychology in general. Social cognitive theory showed behavioralism, along with theories of Freud and Skinner, did not fully understand all the underlying mechanics of influences on behavior. So basically, more was going on behind the scenes than we thought originally to influence someone's behavior. It also had social aspects in the mix. The use of social cognitive theory and social learning theory are still in many fields of psychology to this day and used right now in current practice. Kurt Lewin's influence on Festinger in the field of cognitive and social psychology is a lot of the research we got from Festinger was thanks to Kurt Lewin's inspiration, because a lot of his starting work was through Lewin. And then social comparison theory and Brown versus Board of Education and the Dahl test. Social comparison theory, as I said, it's comparing yourself to others, and this was very supported by the Dahl test when kids would take the dolls and compare themselves to the dolls and say certain dolls were prettier because they were going on with social beliefs of people around them. These are my references, and hopefully you enjoyed the presentation. Thank you.